I have a favourite audiobook that I've listened to quite a lot, which was a BBC adaptation, I think, of Stephen King's Pet Sematary, which was a great adaptation of a great book, and it was very scary, so I've listened to that a few times. I think the enjoyment of listening to someone else tell you the story is it can't be divorced from what it's always felt like to have that happen to you. From me being a child, it's always very cosy and pleasurable to have someone else kind of relay the thoughts and feelings rather than you having to work at deciding what things are meant, from your own perspective whilst reading a book. Someone else doing that for you gives a lot of enables you to have time off the hook. You can be enjoying the work and someone else's interpretation of it, and that's somehow sometimes a nicer thing. Well, it's a really different thing to be kind of trying to convey a story with only the written word. You have, of course, the conversations that the characters might have, and that allows you some freedom in acting those moments. But the rest of the time in the prose, you've got to kind of just paint the picture of the things that are happening in the book, and it's down to you to kind of keep it sounding appealing or know the right note to hit if it's a creepy description or whatever. So it's a lot of concentration to kind of get all the right beats across. It's your responsibility to do that work for the listener. So that's what's kind of grueling about it, really. It's quite hard to do if you want to do a good job. It was kind of Jeremy Dyson that was the person that first brought me to Aickman. He was a huge fan, has been for years, obsessed with him, I think. In fact, he's done a Radio 4 series about Aickman, or a half hour, studying this strange man who very few people have heard of, and yet he's probably one of the greatest short story writers and writers, full stop, of oddness of our time. It's a fantastic thing to discover him, and certainly his sensibility and that creepiness that he conveys is something that certainly bleeds into our work. Now that I've read all these stories for these audiobooks and revisited Aickman again in a much more considered way, because I've been kind of really trying to pull out of the text the proper stories and kind of just convey that to a listener. It's impressed upon me even further how brilliant his writing is. I mean, I think he's just a real master at creating character, and that's what's so affecting about his stories. You care about the characters. They're very ordinary people, and yet some of the things that happen to them are so strange that you never really you're not given the opportunity to be let off the hook by what happens. They're so strange, and some of the stories just end that you are often quite literally left haunted. And I think that's a brilliant quality.